Heavenly Father, showers the blessings upon the chosen, more and more afraid.
His Holiness More Ignatius Frame II is the 123rd Patriarch of the See of Antioch and all the East. His Holiness was chosen to lead the Holy Church at the Universal Syrian Synod held on Monday, March 31st, 2014, at Lebanon after demise of Blessed Patriarch Ignatius Saka first Evas. This is the one of the greatest blessings for Malankara TV. Stay with us.
His Holiness More Ignatius Supreme II was born on May 3, 1965 in Qazimo, Syria, and was ordained a monk in 1985. He became Archbishop and Patriarchal Vicar in American Archdiocese in 1996. He was enthroned as Patriarch of Universal Syrian Orthodox Church in 2014. His Holiness had his primary and secondary schooling in Syria and Lebanon, bachelor's degrees from Coptic Theological Seminary in Cairo, Egypt. He did his master's and doctoral degree in divinity from Ireland. His Holiness is well versed in Classical Syriac, Neo-Aramaic, Arabic, French, and English. He can also understand and speak a little bit of Malayalam. His Holiness is a writer, orator, and has published many books, two of which are for children, The Treehouse and Animals from the Bible. Your Holiness, welcome to Malankara TV. And let me just start off by saying how thankful we are that you can be with us here today. Your Holiness, you're the first Patriarch who speaks Malayalam, and we know you like Malayali food. What is your favorite Malayali dish?
Thank you very much. First of all, I wish I speak Malayalam. I really don't speak it, but I try to learn a few words here and there, and I thought at the installation that it was important for me to talk to our people, to our children in Malankara in their own language. That's why I made some efforts to say a few words. I'm glad I did, and I hope my Malayalam will get better. Of course, I've known the Malayali community for quite a long time, and my interaction with our Malayali people in North America have given me an opportunity to come to know the culture very closely, in addition to my many visits to Kerala. And I've come to love the Malayali food, and my favorite dish, if you like to know, it's appam and fish molly.
Syriac Orthodox Church is one of the oldest churches and still strictly following our olden traditions and practices. Do you have any plans to modernize our church, especially in regards to our prayers and masses taking a very long time?
Of course, every church has to be up to date with the way it offers the people spiritual nourishment. Every church has to be renewed every day, just like every Christian has to be renewed every day through the Spirit. When we talk about renewal, we don't talk about giving up the apostolic traditions that we have, giving up the forefathers' teachings and customs. We talk about how to present these ancient, venerable traditions in a modern language, in today's language that our youngsters would understand and relate to. And in that regard, yes, we do have some plans to go over our liturgical practices and liturgical ceremonies and try to make them more accessible and more understood and meaningful to today's generation and to the future generations.
Are there any particular plans to attract younger generations to the church?
There is no doubt that the younger generation is not only the future of the church, it's actually the church itself today. And we cannot disqualify the young and put them on the sideline them. We have to make the young people, first of all, proud of their church. Second, active members of their church. And to do so, we have to basically explain to them what our faith is, to explain to them our ancient traditions, and to attract them through making them more active in the church life, through conferences, special youth liturgies, meetings, and especially through bring them in connection with their brothers and sisters throughout the world. One of the plans we have, and we hope to start with next year, is to organize an annual global youth gathering for our young people from throughout the world to meet every year at one place and to live together for 4 or 5 days as members of the same church and to exchange experiences and hopefully build up relationships, because our young people, whether it's in Malankara, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Europe, in America, they have very similar concerns and similar issues these days. The world has become a global village, and the issues that our young people have in Malankara, same issues will be faced by our young people in the Middle East and in America, with some differences, of course, but the main issues are the same. Therefore, bring them together, making them feel their unity and live their experience together is, I believe, is a right way to make them interested in the church and to keep them active in their church.
Your Holiness, what is your biggest challenge thus far to lead the church in the 21st century?
There are so many challenges, but the biggest challenge right now is the lack of security and stability in many regions of the world, especially in the Middle East, where our church was born and was established, with what's happening in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon. It hasn't given me chance to think about many other important things since assuming this holy ministry. I've been busy with visiting these suffering people in parts of Syria and northern Iraq, and I just feel I haven't had time to settle yet. I believe this is God's will, that I should come at a time like this and be able to move around with relatively young age, to be able to move around and visit these people, comfort them, and be with them at time of difficulties.
Your Holiness, terrorism is one of the major underlying problems in all over the world, especially in the Middle East. It affects our churches and other minorities in the region. What is your view?
The Middle East region in particular, and the world today, suffers from a phenomenon that is one of extremism and fanaticism. This ideology, which has developed the recent few decades, is very dangerous, not only for Christians and minorities, dangerous for Islam, Muslims themselves. And I'm talking specifically about these Islamic, political Islamic movements that are considering everybody else as kafir, means infidel, non-believer. They even look at their own Muslim fellows, those who do not agree with them in their very narrow vision and narrow explanation of their text. They look at them also as being kafirs. We call it takfiri ideology. This is very dangerous, and the whole world is suffering from it. Therefore, it needs the efforts and the coordination of major countries, as well as the cooperation of Islamic societies and countries to come out against this kind of ideology and fight against it, not only for the sake of minority, but for the sake of Islam itself.
Your Holiness, media and international communities focused on Syria and Iraq recently, but you have pleaded United States of America and international communities to intervene a while back. Our two bishops were abducted in Syria 2 years back, and we still have no idea where they are. Have there been any action taken by Syrian government to find them?
The abduction of our two beloved Archbishops, Mo Gregorius Yohanna Ibrahim and Boulos Yazigi of Aleppo, is a message really to Christians and other minorities in the Middle East that they are not welcome in their own homeland. When you strike the leaders, you basically tell the faithful parishioners that you are going to be next or you have no place among us. Our message, therefore, has always been that Christians should respond by staying in their homeland, by making these plans of driving them out of their homelands fail. At the same time, we tried many avenues to ask about the two archbishops and secure their release. The latest, we were in the White House last week, and we met with President Obama, and I asked him specifically about the two archbishops, and I requested his assistance in finding them and bringing them back to their church and their community. What's happening in Iraq and Syria, I believe, is part of the same event and the same war that is being fought not only against Christians and minorities, but against humanity as such. The human person is being targeted. The civilization is being targeted. And therefore, the whole world should be united in fighting against this kind of extremism to safeguard humanity, to safeguard life as God wanted it and intended it to be.
Let us continue to hope and pray for their well-being.
Thank you. We have to hope and pray because we are people of hope and faith, and we will not give up our efforts also to bring them back.
Your Holiness, recently you have visited Erbil in Iraq and other war-torn area in Syria. Can you share that experience with us?
That's very heartbreaking experience, especially in northern Iraq. I went twice to northern Iraq. First time I went on June 13th, 3 days or 2 days after the expulsion of Christians from the city of Mosul. On June 10th, Christians were driven out of their homes with basically nothing. And those who were leaving, they were stripped of their personal belongings also. I went to visit them in the villages and towns of the Nineveh plain. They took refuge in the churches, in the monasteries, and in the church halls. I was with them for 3 days trying to bring back hope to their hearts and smile to the faces of their kids. Back then, I was praying with them and hoping that they will be able to go back to their homes in Mosul. However, what happened almost 2 months later, on August 6th, is that these same people who were driven out of their homes from Mosul were once again expelled from their places of refuge, together with the people of the plain of Nineveh, total of 120,000 Christians and many other members of the other minorities of Yazidis and others were driven out of their homes, villages and towns, this time to what's called the Kurdish region in Iraq. 120,000 were forced out of their homes in matters of hours, 8 to 10 hours. And the churches had to cope with this big number of refugees. And we don't have too many churches in the Kurdish region, really. Most of our churches are in the plain of Nineveh. So all these people were all of a sudden scattered in towns and villages. They end up staying and sleeping on the streets, in deserted buildings. And of course, all the churches were used for this purpose. And I had to go again and visit them. I went with 4 of my brother patriarchs from the Middle East to visit these people. 3rd week of August, we spent 5 days with them, visiting their places of refuge. And I cannot forget the encounter I had with one little kid. He's about 3.5 years old, with a twin brother. They come to me, and then this kid opens his arm. He says, in Syriac Aramaic, Leitlan Duktho, Leitlan Duktho. We have no place, we have no space. He was part of a community of about 70 families who took refuge in a little church in a small Christian town in Kurdistan. Of course, the hall was packed, crowded with the people, but for me, that cry was not about the physical space. It was about the future. He was telling me that we Christians, it looks like we don't have a future in this area, in our homeland. That was very heartbreaking. What's happening in northern Iraq is nothing short of a genocide against our people. Ethnic cleansing, yes. Religious cleansing, yes, it is indeed. And what surprises me is the silence of the world about this. Now, of course, we hear the last few days that the United States of America and other European countries are going and striking at ISIS. But unfortunately, these people did not take the initiative when Christians were attacked and expelled from their homes. They took initiative only when their own interests were threatened. And they were not shy about that. The US administration made it very clear that we are going to attack, to strike at Daesh, ISIS, because American interests and personnel are in danger. This is the world in the 21st century, where satellites control everything. You can see everything anywhere in the world. They cannot claim that we have not heard or have not seen. About 100 years ago, our people suffered a horrible genocide in the former Ottoman Empire. Back then, we lost more than 500,000 of our Syriac-speaking Christians, in addition to 1.5 million Armenians and Greeks and others. And at that time, many nations claimed that they did not know about these massacres until they were over. But now, what will these countries say? We did not hear, we did not know. I hope they wake up to the danger. This is not against only Christians. This is against humanity, and it will very soon, it may find its way to the streets of New York, Washington, Paris, London, and others.
Your Holiness, you are very actively involved with the current issues in Syria and Iraq. You met with the President of the United States along with other Christian leaders. Have you received any assurance